Welcome to my Self-Care Shit, the podcast, where we talk about what true self-care looks and feels like. I'm your host, Kathy Love, two-time TEDx speaker, author, and self-care coach. Each week, we'll have honest conversations on how to create the peace and stability we crave in our lives. Doug Skoke is the founder and CEO of LFG Now, a boutique recruitment agency. You may know him from LinkedIn as the Blue Collar Buddha, and I know him from the Outlier Project. He has been a member for years, and over that time has become such a dear, dear friend to me. And I am really excited to have this conversation with him. I'm excited to have this conversation no matter where it goes, because it's always a good one with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was thrilled to be asked to be on your show.
Thank you.
Podcast.
Yes. Yes. And you've been there every Saturday morning on our group call since the retreat, where the idea and the podcast kind of started and got its momentum. So that's been fun to share that with you guys. So would you like to start with I know where I'd like to start. I'd like to start with your strengths. I don't even know what you call it, but you refer to the characteristics of your personality based on your letters. And I love the way you have gotten to know yourself so well through that structure, and how you make decisions and you make choices based on the fact that you know yourself so well. And when I talk about codependency and this healing, it's always about being disconnected from ourselves.
That's really, so we can just riff, right?
Yeah.
No rules here.
No.
The only rule is riff.
Absolutely.
So when you just talked about codependency, which I know is near and dear to your heart, I consider you a subject matter expert in it. You find a correlation then between not knowing yourself to the degree of which you're codependent perhaps on somebody else?
100%.
Ah, okay. I love
So
learning. I haven't thought of it that way. That's very interesting.
That is how I define it, because I believe that when we're disconnected from what we truly believe and need and want,
Yeah.
we defer to other people's expectations and we follow other people's ideas because we don't have our own securely locked in place.
Ooh.
Even about ourselves. So if someone has an opinion about us, we may believe them before we believe ourselves.
Okay. That's profound. So that resonates, because if we work on the premise of love, everything's love, I think. Kathy, love.
Everything is love.
Is that? How do you fall in love with anything, much less anyone who you don't really intimately know? It's very hard to. So the whole journey around self-discovery, actualization, like becoming the best version of yourself, to me is foundationally built on the exploration of getting to know oneself on a deeply intimate level. So the reason why I use, the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs type index, and I joke about, and you have no idea because it comes up a lot. And I still learn about, like, it's very, some of it's abstract. It's very cerebral. I'm more of a blue collar guy. That's kind of the blue collar Buddha part. The blue collar part of my spiritual journey and learnings is I'll dig in and I'll do the freaking work and I'll do it every day and I'll be consistent as anybody and all that stuff. But I gotta taste it, touch it, digest it. Has to make sense to me. If it's too far out there, if it's too abstract, I'm not there yet or whatever, I'll get frustrated with it. And I'm always searching for keep it simple, stupid for me and little Dougie. And how do we apply this in the real world? So I'm often talking about, so there's a couple assessments that I've gotten very comfortable with, personality assessments, and I've done a gazillion. Um, that's what I like to do in my spare time. That's how weird I am, not how egotistical, because it's not about that at all. It's about exactly where we started this conversation. I have to learn about me because what I did and why I was so fascinated with what you just said about the link between um, like codependency and not knowing ours is I allowed, this is just coming to me as we're talking, I allowed other people to define me my entire life, not even knowing it, I guess. And people pleasing, go along to get along, you know, really abhor confrontation on a lot of levels. Uh, you know, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. In order for me to actually attain anything, I have to work harder than anybody else, even if I'm miserable at doing what I'm doing. Just all these stories, like we're all humans. So I never made this, so I allowed everybody else to define me until 7, 8 years ago. I started to dive really deep into these assessments. And that's been my key learnings. Oh, this is why I show up the way that I show up. This is why I behave the way that I behave. And you know what? It's okay. I'm actually going to get to know that person really good. And I'm still dating and falling in love with that person, which is me, so that I can then define me and I've become insulated then to an extent from other people's definitions of me. And truly, I care way more about like how my life feels on the inside than how it looks to others on the outside. And I operate different, I move different, just like you do. And the more I get comfortable with that and have no need to explain, over explain, apologize for things I shouldn't be apologizing for, you know, setting boundaries, adhering to boundaries, which is so hard for me, the happier that I am. So this INFJ personality profile, which I can't break down to you in a scientific way, I'll lose the 10,000 followers and subscribers of your podcast anyway, or 100,000, whatever that number is, because they'll be just like, I'm not interested. But what I did find out through the MBTI, type index, and I think there's 16 personality types, is the INFJ, which is what I definitely am, is the rarest of all. Does that make me cool? No, it makes me a freaking freak. That's what it makes me. I'm a weirdo. I'm a fucking sorry.
That's okay. We use all kinds of language here.
Yeah, because we get intense. All right.
Go ahead.
That's part of my personality.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm real calm, but the intensity is like right here
Mm-hmm.
all times. You know what I mean?
You be you.
Like some people are calm and that intensity is like a mile deep. I've noticed that I'm calm, but the intensity is right there though. So sorry. I'm not apologizing. There's nothing to apologize for. The my personality type is, if you believe in any of this stuff, right, is the rarest among all the 16. And when you extrapolate it even further into the male population, it's by far the like 0.5% of all dudes walking the planet that have taken this assessment, and it's in the millions, have the same personality. So that was a light bulb for me. Like, all right, I'm diving deep into whatever the hell this personality type is because it's not normal, if you will, and I need to really understand myself. And it continues to, I've watched at this point, probably hundreds of 100 hours worth of, YouTubes, from coaches that do INFJ coaching to just people that are into it like me and learn about the personality characteristics. But it's all about, how we view the world, how I process information, how I show up in the world, why am I the way that I am, and um, the introversion and the intuition part are very, very prominent in the way that I operate. So that's just the whole self-assessment thing. You've done self-assessments, right? Human design and I
For sure. I don't, I always say I'm a big picture person. I don't remember the details. So I've taken
understood.
them, yeah, and I don't, and I identify with them as I'm taking them, but I don't carry it with me. I don't tend to remember which test I've taken and where I landed, but they make sense to me when I do them. I totally believe in the process for sure.
And I think they're all individual, right? So some I think have more application in my life than others. Maybe I just gravitate to some more than others. This is one of them. The love languages are very important too, I think. I don't know what maybe that's called the love language assess. I'm not sure. Your love languages?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an assessment of how you process and what you need, right? As an
Correct.
individual, what you need out of a relationship or a relationship with anyone, because it doesn't even have to be romantic. That love language can be at work with your friends, however it shows up for you. It's still a reflection of what you need.
That's right.
So the thing that we've never talked about and I don't hear talked about enough is that it's not just looking at ourselves and getting to know ourselves. It's that missing piece of then loving that person that we find. Because so many people look inside and they don't like it. They don't like what they see. And that is when we see addictions and distractions and all kinds of unhealthy behavior to get away from this person that they're not really, happy to have found. So, and you're talking about being a rare, yes, I've just got a little cattail here.
I
Um, um, you're talking about being in the rare, personality type, and you're calling yourself a freak, and you're different, but you also have developed a really strong self-love.
I think that's everything. I don't know how to is it Carl Jung? Carl Jung?
Young,
Jung?
yeah, yeah,
The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Like is one of these quotes that's just ingrained in my head. Uh the the falling in love with yourself to me is just it's foundationally critical. Is it that way for everybody? I don't know. I'm not huge. I don't I don't like to be preachy or come across preachy. I do like to share though what makes me me and what, practices maybe I adhere to. The love part is really, really important. I didn't know how important because I never really loved myself. So just like as we were talking about the codependency stuff, I knowingly or not allowed other people to define me. Well, that has a direct impact, on how I view me. And I talked about self-worth, self-confidence, self-love, the stories I tell myself. And when you start to lose your identity over time, your own identity, which I did, because I was always muting my voice, dimming my light, making sure others, got all the spotlight, or, I didn't want to step on anybody's cape. I didn't want tension. I wanted to just be the guy that everybody liked. And, I mean, I'm one of gazillion, that's not that rare. There's men, women, whoever, like we all are prone to this type of behavior. So that goes then, it's not just childhood stuff. This goes through college. It goes into my marriage, and how close I am with my ex-wife, but it was not a healthy marriage at all. It was here's how it shows up. Happy wife, happy life, which is the dumbest, most ridiculous, misguided. I could get intensely passionate about how stupid that is. And that was my mantra. That was my ethos. That was my North Star for my marriage, for most of it. So do you know how miserable I was? However miserable I was, my ex-wife was just as miserable. I mean, that quote, if you think about that, happy what? Make somebody else happy so my life can be happy. What the F is that? So I go through this marriage with that, and we end up, I mean, the trials and tribulations of just marriage. Then you throw in, infertility issues, going through a process of in vitro fertilization several times unsuccessfully, and then adoption. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. But throughout that marriage, I really, that's when I completely lost my entire identity. And I'm not a victim. It's not her fault. That's my doing, because it was so chaotic. And she is an intense personality. She's done so much work too. God bless her. That's why we're so close now. You can only meet somebody, I guess, whatever that saying is, as close as. So she's done a ton of inner work. I have. And, and we still co-parent very well. Thank God we have to. But during the course of our marriage, I was never good enough. I, I, at anything, basically. It didn't make enough money. She lived in comparison world. Our whole circle of friends, everybody else, rolling in the dough. Everybody's doing this, that, and the other. Not us. My fault. What, I mean, and you can extrapolate that so that went on for 12 years, to the point where we go through counseling a couple different times. We worked hard at it. And the last time, can I stand up? Is it going to be distracting?
Absolutely. You can lay down if you want.
Oh,
On
no.
your couch.
So the last time, it's just I have these back. The last time we went through to try to salvage that we had adopted both kids, that was all in the mix at this point. It wasn't too many sessions in that I realized I forgot the exact, but she's done. That was it. I forgot what the exact dialogue was, but I had the epiphany, okay, this is over. And I was so deeply wounded, so deeply troubled, so lost, that I would have stayed miserable my entire life. There's no question about it. I'm a Leo anyway, so loyalty in me is an interesting combo. I'm exceedingly, extraordinarily loyal, to my detriment sometimes, for sure. But beyond that, I would have stayed miserable. And then shortly after I realized she's done, we pivoted to, okay, I guess we're getting what is it? Separated, and then divorced. And I didn't want this. And now I'm the one who's getting sort of booted out of the house, and you know, and then my income now has to make up for. I mean, it was a disaster. So like so many other people initially, and it took a while. That sting, I was so angry, so bitter, so everything, miserable, miserable. And then at some point, that's when my journey really started, and I had the awakening that that was the best gift I could have ever gotten, ever, 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 ever. Nothing against her at all. But that's when I flipped the switch. I started working with a coach, meditation, mindfulness coach, and I started to dive deep into this is a long-winded way to get back to self-love,
Mm-hmm.
self-discovery. And I started dating myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been, and it continues to this day. And there's another saying that I like to reflect on. Falling in love with yourself first isn't vain or selfish. It's just it makes you sort of indestructible. And I'm not there yet. I'm definitely not there yet. I don't know that I'll ever be indestructible, but I do know that because of this personality type that I am, I'm a true introvert. I gain energy. I mean, that's really what it is. It's all energy. If you're an extrovert, you get your energy from that social interaction and being around people and all that stuff. If you're an introvert, your energy gets drained in those. So I require way more alone time than the average person. And then instead of thinking of me as a freak in that regard, because remember, this is who I've been my whole life. So I got made fun of. I was the butt of jokes during college. I wouldn't go to all the parties. And then after college, I have some wonderful friends, truly, that like to party a lot too. And I would be the one that would leave early, and I didn't know why. It was just like, so then you start learning about, oh, that's why I'm this bizarro personality type. So when now I can put words to it. Now I can put like a description to it. Now I can define it and be like, "Oh, this makes perfect sense that I like to peace out when I peace out because I have to. And if I'm not allowed to, I will get angry." I love that version of me now that I know who that version is. You get what I'm saying?
I admire that version of you. When you say, we have this standing Saturday morning call, a group call, and when you say, I'm not coming today, I need this time for me, I'm so proud of you, envious of you. I love when you say that. Even though I miss when you're not on the call, I just love that you claim that space and that boundary for yourself to protect and fill yourself. I think it's just so important. And I love that about you. And you brought it up a couple of times in here saying you tended not to like or to avoid conflict. You get angry when you're not able
Mm.
to do what you need to do,
Hmm.
which leads me to our conversation when we were in person in Miami. And it was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had as an adult. And it couldn't have gone better, in my opinion, because of you knowing yourself so well and being so strong and secure in that person that we were able to debate and disagree and yet still continue the conversation and keep talking and keep sharing that we were not on the same page, but we were both supporting each other. And it was just one of the most beautiful, difficult, but beautiful conversations I've ever had. And that is what the work that you've done, because the easy part is doing the tests and checking the boxes and like getting seeing where you score. The hard part is then embracing that and loving that and being that. That's the hard part.
Hmm.
But you're doing it and I watch you do it and I love that. And I wonder when you were talking about in your marriage of being told that you weren't good enough, you weren't making enough, those things that, you know, were um were said or made you were made to feel that way. Do you think that if someone was saying that to you now, it would hit the same?
No, it's
Right?
not even,
Right.
I can't say I'm Teflon because I'm not, I still feel, of course I feel, and my personality type, and this is more of an Enneagram type 4.
Yeah, this is why I wanted this conversation. Exactly. You brought up your
You know
birth
what?
sign, your Enneagram, and your letters.
Look at this. Look how far I had to go. Like nowhere.
Right.
It's right here. Look at
Right.
this. So I got this book. I don't
Human
know if you can
design.
see it. It's blurry on my
The wisdom of the
Wisdom
Enneagram.
of the Enneagram.
Okay.
My Type Finder personality assessment. I mean, it's just it goes, yeah, whatever. It's all right here. Like this is what I do for fun. I'm so cool. I mean, what a nerd. Oh my God.
If you're gonna nerd out on something, I think yourself is the just the
So
best topic.
I no, I'm definitely sensitive to criticism, but part of the sensitivity to criticism is also because, and this is that goes into the INF, my intuition is so strong, my human design is all gut driven too. That when it comes to making decisions, or when it comes to my beliefs in some things, I can entrench so deeply that if I don't, I'm either a all in or an F no. There's no in between. And a lot of times, and this is an INFJ personality characteristic, you can't really articulate, and it becomes very frustrating. I can't articulate the way that I feel about something. I just know that it's the way that I feel about something, and it's my truth. And I'm not even relay. I'll relay it back to our conversation in a minute, but it could be with
Yeah,
anything
right.
in life, making a decision on buying a new TV or whatever. Make somebody making an introduction to me business wise, and me kind of I'm just reading the energy and leaning into them. I'm a pattern recognition expert. I'm not clairvoyant, but I see where things lead, and I'm right almost all the time. So therefore, I can get very intense or very like dug in, like no. Well, why not? And then I get more intense because if I can't explain it, how can I explain that? This is why I'm going in so many directions right now, but this is
I'm with you.
why I kind of have learned that I need to work for myself, probably for the rest of my life, no matter what it is, especially as it relates to client development, revenue generating, new business development, whatever that is, because my biggest KPI is feels. I follow my feels. How the fuck does that show up on a quarterly report? Where's that project? You know what I'm saying? And I'm
Mhm.
not poo-pooing, strategy and planning but I am telling you wholeheartedly, I'm at a point in my life now where I trust my intuition so implicitly. I follow my feels. If I'm energized to move in a direction, I will. If there's a networking event happening and I'm like, man, I'm being pulled to that, I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go. And there's 10 more that on the face of it, somebody would be like, dude, how are you not going to this? I'm just not because I know that it's not going. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and I've watched you decide on which partnerships and relationships to choose
Yes.
in your business based
Yes.
on how it makes you feel.
So we'll get back to no, it wouldn't land the same way because I've done so much work, and that's the beauty of doing the work for sure. And I also would receive the information differently, whether it was body language, tonality, or the actual words. I'm a more evolved person. So the communication, so even if my ex-wife was saying something that would have just hit me in the gut 10 years ago, whatever, Now, oof, from like a mindfulness standpoint, from an ability to step back just for 1 second and understand there's a lot that goes into communication. So what she may be conveying to me may actually be a fear of hers that's then being projected onto me. So why should I take everything so personal? I know you would
Right.
understand this,
Right.
but again, your 100,000 followers or listeners might get a little like, what
It's
are they doing?
possible.
So I've evolved in that regard as well too. Our conversation relates directly to this topic because I can go back there like it was yesterday, right? I was already in a vulnerable state of being. So we were at a in real life gathering for our community, right? Which are very important events because
Hmm.
as much as the relationships can be built virtually, when you get a chance to, be together, as you know more than anybody, it really cements things. So the timing of this was awful for me. My brother had just passed away, unexpectedly, tragically. God knows where I was even at with, uh, I don't know, internalizing that, mourning it, whatever it was. I had just returned from his memorial in Portland, Oregon, within like a day or two of that
Right.
event. So I probably, in hindsight, shouldn't have gone because but the pull to be, together with people, I thought was going to be very healthy for me, which it was. It starts out in an environment that's loud, the rooftop bar, a lot of noise, lights. So stimulus wise for me, I'm already like, oh boy, this is tough because it was also loud. So when I can't talk to somebody and actually hear what they're saying, that's why I
Hmm.
don't do great in loud environments unless I'm just listening to a concert, music. And so I was already in this state of mind that was not terrific for so many reasons. Then we moved out and it was like, oh, an exhale. We went to this beautiful place, as you know, outdoor area, a lot more spread out. We could get into some good banter and that was all good. And then there was a point in time when it was time for me to go. I was drained. I was emotionally not there and I just wanted to go. And we got into a discussion about where you were coming from a place of genuine concern that I had had too much to drink, perhaps, and I shouldn't be driving. That was my recollection of it, which is, on the face of it, super cool and special and loving and thoughtful, caring. From my perspective, how it was internalized was I need to leave. This is a barrier to me leaving. I'm not drunk. I'm just kind of a mess emotionally. So I could understand why, like I was probably not presenting like I would normally be, um, which would lead somebody to think a million different things, I guess. So that's the setup here. And I reacted in a terrible way. Very, it was overbearing. It was loud. It was disproportionate to you know, to the actual events and conversation. You were coming at it from wanting to take care of me. I'm coming at it from this heightened, not in I'm in emotional mind, not wise mind at this point. And my emotional mind is I just need to get the F out of here. I'm not drunk. I'm just a mess. I want to go home. I need my peace. I need my quiet, that kind of thing. And you wouldn't let it go though, either. That you were very
Right.
concerned, right? So it's like now here we go, right? And then I don't even know what the crescendo was, but it was ugly. It was uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And I recognize that. And obviously you recognize, it came through in your
Right.
body language. I think we might have had some misty eyes. And then and then that's an immediate recognition that it can't end that way. There's no way, because I respect you too much. I love you as a friend, as a human being, as a fellow journeyer so much. Like that's just wrong. Like I could not. It would be, so it's just very important, and this is true to today too, because my ex-wife and I still get, we or other people. I do not like what I used to do when I had no identity and no self-love, and going back to the when you don't have an identity, you're codependent. I'm allowing everybody else to define me, and I don't like confrontation, and I would just shut down. That was my method of communication, just shut down. That's not me anymore. So now even if it's uncomfortable, I will make it uncomfortable to the point of forcing myself to have a real conversation with somebody about something so that it doesn't end in this. We still might walk away, not me and you, but I still might walk
Hmm.
away disagreeing or whatever, but it should be done in a calm, respectful, understanding, empathetic sort of way.
Yeah.
And you gave me the
And
opportunity for us to sit down and hash that out.
well, my go-to in my codependency is not to have that confrontation either. And so for you to really encourage that was a growth moment for me to know that we could have that conversation. And there were lots of tears on my part, and I would have been happy had you just walked away, and not had to have had that at that moment. But I'm so glad that we did. And that is, I was talking to Courtney Turek last week on the podcast, which was one thing that people don't often recognize in codependency is that we can be controlling, and we don't call it controlling because we're just trying to help people, but we are trying to control the outcome of a situation the way we think it should go. And so yeah, was definitely trying to control your decision and if you left and all of that. And being kind of the organizer of the party, I was definitely in that, like, these are my, this is my little, uh, these are my people mode, and in more of a controlling situation. So it's just practice, right? It's like, I
Right.
think
But
we,
Kathy, it takes effort.
yes,
It takes a lot of effort, because what we just described, what we lived through, what we did is draining. I mean,
yes,
it's so much easier if you think about it. For me, I would to go peace out, and for
right,
you to just go back to the party,
exactly.
right? I mean,
Yeah. If you jumped in an Uber, and we could have, who knows, we may have just avoided each other for the next, for forever on,
correct.
right? We could have just
Yeah.
ignored it, and just chalked it up to whatever. But I'm so glad that we didn't. And that those honest conversations, those hard conversations, that is true self-care. And that is because we both knew ourselves well enough to explain where we were coming from, and just, be able to hear, like, if somebody tells you that you're not good enough now, in the past, when we're really struggling with the codependency, there's a little bit of us that still believes that. That's why it hits us so hard when someone says you're not doing enough, you're not enough, because part of us believes it. But as we have evolved and done all of this work, and there's a smaller part, and maybe it never goes away, maybe we consider it, but we don't live there anymore. And
Hmm.
so if I say something to you, it's not going to hit you as hard because you
Hmm.
know you're enough. You know who
Hmm.
you are. And for me too.
Why does self-care get such a bad rap? I feel like.
Because it's hard. I think it's hard work. And even when you say practice, like if you're playing a sport and you go out to practice,
Mm.
it's hard. It's work. That's where you do the work, is when you're practicing. So, um, I think it's like anything else. It's worth it, but it does take some effort. And I think we're afraid to see sometimes and admit the truths of what we're thinking and feeling, and we just don't embrace it. But as soon as we do, it changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's why I talk about true self-care. True self-care is that sometimes harder, sometimes the stuff that takes the work. It's not just going and getting your nails painted
No,
or,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's,
right. It's not just taking an hour, it's
mm-hmm.
working on
Mm-hmm.
something. Yeah. So, and I want to, you brought up because you just started your own company,
Mm-hmm.
which is a huge act of self-care and trusting yourself, believing in yourself, knowing you're good enough to do it. And of course, you have doubts along the way, but you had your reasons for doing it and you were motivated and you did it. And so here you are, what, 7 months in, and how I wanted, and so you brought it up a little bit, but how does it, you said it's better for you with your personality traits to work for yourself, but how does knowing yourself in this way actually contribute to the process of in recruiting of working for your clients?
I think one of the massive things is I can be so intentional with how I structure my days, the ebb and flow of my days. I know intimately when what my power hours are, when I'm really on fire, when I'm typically firing on all cylinders, and I know when that starts to fade, I guess, or now that I'm in control, literally in control of the cadence of my day, it's been monumentally helpful for me so that I can structure my day and energy accordingly. If I'm doing outreach and there's certain ways that I do that, I know that I can structure that during some other off hour times. If I'm having candidate calls that I need to be completely locked in on, I'm going to try to schedule those in the morning. Like, so being in control of that is huge. Being in control of how I also want to structure deals, how I want to work with clients, not having to ask approval, run it through this person or that person. I can trust my judgment, gut intuition, play the long game with somebody, negotiate a little bit, whatever it is. And I'm the one who's making the decision one way or the other is super empowering and very has been very helpful for me. Being in control of also aligning with the right clients. It's like that's a relationship too, just like anything else. So we all know the kind of client where I know the kind of clients that I usually vibe well with. And when I'm vibing well with them, that means we're aligned. We have equal business stature, and I'm usually successful in what I'm tasked with doing. But when I'm not, when they go dark on me, when I don't get constructive feedback on candidates that I send through, when we finally find just the great candidate who checks so many different boxes, but yet they need to see three more just because it's a number. Like, so I'm now empowered to say, I love you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been super like, um, yeah, a learning experience for me, and I've discovered that I just don't think we're the best fit. When I can pull out of those relationships because it's an ROI, it's an opportunity cost, time and money. Yeah, so that's that entrepreneurial thing, when I know that who am I going to fire? Me? I don't have to ask for permission. And then none of that is to say that it's easy, that I make all the right decisions, all of that stuff. But that's okay. They're my decisions. And I'll fail the way that I guess I fail. And then I'll pick myself up the way that I pick myself up doing. So it's very energizing. I mean, it's really, really energizing. I love it. I think I'm way better at what I do for it.
I think all of the things you just listed off are all behaviors that show that growth in the healing. All of those things, in trusting yourself, in making decisions for yourself, in being in alignment, not being in a mode of scarcity or fear. And even just the way you set up your day, knowing yourself well enough to know how you set up your day, time wise and appointment wise, is self care. And it all,
Hmm.
you're ending up now taking care of yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself for your clients and your candidates. It's so cool.
Thanks for putting that so elegantly and eloquently.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what.
So I think we covered all of the three. There were three big things that I really wanted to go, into with you today, and I think we got them.
Hmm.
But I actually love this conversation more than I imagined that I would. And so I'm so appreciative to you
Hmm.
for giving me your hour and giving me your self-care Sunday morning and just being you.
I find myself energized by the exchange that we had, and that's a tell. That's like when you come home and the dog, or in your case, the cat, I guess, you know, that's the tell, the tail wag. Um, the organic nature of our conversation. I will say that I have mad love for you because you get me. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to love Kathy Love. Look no further than the name, of course. But people who get me, because I'm still trying to get me, to be perfectly honest. That's all the work I'm doing. But when I sense that somebody gets me, it's the most meaningful thing by far, um, in my life. And how is it related to this conversation? Because you would ask me, I don't even know, a few weeks ago, I guess, without any, it wasn't like hey, I've got a slot. I'd love to have you on the show on, you know, date certain, time certain, whatever it was. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think intuitively you felt like, I'm going to put this out there. I know Doug's going to want to talk to me, but I know that he's going to want to, you know, kind of get there on his own time, or when he determines that he can be fully present with me. Because even at the time, there's always chaos in everybody's life. My life,
Mhm.
freaking clown show all the time. And you allowed me to just dictate I guess, when am I going to get on your calendar? And whenever I get on your calendar, you'll do it. To other people, that might not mean anything. And it doesn't, it's to somebody like me, it means everything, literally everything. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate how intentional you are in our communication, our relationship, the way that we roll. Like it's really
It's very
it's
special.
special. Yeah, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, we will let everybody else go get their self-care shit together, and I will see you next week on our call, Doug.
Amen. Thanks, love.
Great job making time for yourself today. Be sure to subscribe to my Self-Care Shit, the podcast, wherever you listen in. Your 5-star review will help get this show to whoever needs to hear it. Go grab your free daily self-care checklist on my selfcareshit.com. Please take the last minute of this podcast for yourself to listen to the ocean waves and breathe.